YouTube? Welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern in N scale, and this is the 2022 July update. And no, your eyes were not deceiving you. That was actually some CSX motive power pulling across the layout. They came down from the upper level during the 4th of July, and we were running some coal trains for visitors. So now that we have completed July, this was probably the least amount of time I've spent in the train room all year, and a couple of reasons for that. One is 2 of my weekends were spent out of town for summer vacation at the beach, and as much as I like model railroading, I would not trade those weekends back to be in the train room. So I lost 2 weekends there. Then we did have the 4th of July holiday, and time was a little bit limited with that. And now we're on the last weekend in July, and got a little bit done in between all of those. But basically, there were no free weekends. So, and then amongst trying to maintain the yard and the house and everything else, plus being out, there just wasn't enough time for modeling. So, real quick, let's show you what was done. Okay, there's not much to show here, but I did rework the track elevations right before the 4th of July, and you'll notice that the right track is sitting just a smidge higher now, and that's because there was a pretty brutal elevation change. It was like a super elevation, but it was not quite right, and cars were starting to have some trouble there. So I did a realignment of the 2 main lines, and that seemed to solve the problem. Still have the issue with this turn being relatively sharp. So trains don't necessarily like it all the time, and in the greater scheme of the layout, there are some things I'm going to be doing here in the train room if everything comes to fruition as far as what I'm planning, that this S-curve will go away. So not much to show there, but operationally, much better. So I have been chipping away at the scenery down here. I know this is some older stuff, but working on pushing the scenery towards the terminal area on both sides. So now we're up to the actual building itself, and at this point I'm not going to get too crazy with the scenery because I've lost all of my space to put stuff. So the occasional bottle of glue or something ends up in here, and it's just I don't have any space to work at the moment. So that's probably as far as it's going to get until I get a little more of the building done. Right now it's still all framed out. There's no actual structure there for what I want. Partly because I haven't built it, partly because I haven't designed some of it. But the scenery, at least basically, is pushed up against the building. Okay, we are on the upper layout, and this is where all of the time has been spent. So the stuff that you can't see that was done, first the rails were cleaned. It was very dirty up here, hadn't really been using it, so there was some issues with the train actually getting over it. So I corrected some alignment issues that I had where trains were derailing, filed down some rail heads where they weren't good at the joints, and basically improved the overall track performance so that I can get trains in and out. Once I was happy with that, I started working on the scenery. And so it was just basically bulking in some of the quiet areas, I call it, the grass areas, where there's no roads. You can see where the road's going to be. No, that's not the road surface. That's just foam core rather than filling everything up with plaster. I used foam core to bring the layout of the board up. This is an older section, so instead of it being built on the nice foam that the rest of the layout's built on, it's built on a basically a sheet of Luan, and that makes things a little bit more difficult for forming scenery at the bottom. A little bit of paper mache type product. I've used everything from Sculpt-A-Mold to Celluclay. This is some other brand, something I picked up at Walmart, I think. You know, it's just something that I can sort of make some rough shapes with. It'll get painted. It's still wet. I put it in last night, and this stuff takes forever to dry, so we're going to let that dry. But now the trains can work in and around these industries here, and you can see that I've spotted a couple of cars just to give some location. I do need to build at least 2 more structure kits. One for where that Chesapeake in Ohio is sitting. I'm sorry, it's a B&O, it's not Chesapeake. It's a B&O, not a C&O. And then I also got to get one over here. This is going to be a custom built building because I've got sort of an angular shape here. So I have some DPM models that I'm going to cut and mangle a little bit to make that dock. And then last, I did start putting some scenery in. This is going to just be a green space as it leads up to the intermodal yard. And you can see right exactly where that world stops. So I'm going to put a backdrop right at the edge of the foam there that you see. It's not going to extend all the way back to the far back, so there is actually a gap there in the framing. That's kind of why I call this area the land bridge, because it looks like a bridge. It's just that area back there, there's no sense in framing in because it's 100% inaccessible. So even if I had to try to get scenery in there, I can't do it. A couple of reasons why. One is it's too deep. That back corner is probably a good 4 feet away from me. And even though I can get a ladder and stand fairly close to it, the house's main beam sits right above it, and so height becomes a problem. And quite frankly, I'm not going to be squirming in between the beam and the layout because that's just going to spell disaster. So we're going to be building a hard backdrop right there, and that'll just get affixed to the back of that framing, and that'll be the end of that. So started some ballast. Basically, I did one side, and that's just to give trains something to run through. Obviously, I need trees and that sort of stuff right now. That's just some of the woodland scenics bushes, some ground foam, and some static grass to give it some texture. It needs a lot more detail, but starting to rough this area in so that it looks like something. So later on today, I'm going to go ahead and pour these roads. I'm just going to use Woodland Scenic to smooth it. There's a ton of videos online, so of that product, I'm not going to show you that process. And then I'm going to start setting sidewalks. I have some, I believe it's Blastruct styrene pieces that I'm going to use. It might be evergreen, I can't remember. But they look like sidewalks. You may have seen it used elsewhere on the layout because I did use it on the lower section here. I'm going to take you down and show you what that looks like. But you can see a corner of it right there. So I'm going to put the sidewalks in and get those all painted up. And that's going to pretty much wrap up the work for July. So also in July, did some work off the layout, and that is involving upgrading 2 of the Atlas beer can or shorty tank cars. Just using the gold medal kits that I've shown you before. There's actually going to be a video that comes out that is all about building these 2 models, and you're going to say, yes, I've already seen that. And you have, but this is a new one because I'm weathering these cars using my airbrush, which is the first 2 cars that I've tried that technique on. So I am going to have that video up posted here as soon as I finish the cars. But you can already see that I've got the scaled railings in there, and it's way better than these bulky plastic ones. But you know, these are once you upgrade these cars, they're pretty much hands off. You don't really want to be touching them because the details are a lot finer and they snap off easier. So once this happens, the cars are pretty much going to sit on the layout, and they are for looking, not for touching. So the other thing that I started working on, actually I started it 2 years ago, and I never finished it. Every now and then I like to keep things interesting in modeling, and you can actually get tired of your trains, and it doesn't mean that you don't like them or that you're going to sell them all, but the room will sit empty because you sort of run out of ideas, and you sort of run out of mojo. And I don't care how many kits you have to build or how much scenery you have to do or wiring or whatever it is, you just don't feel like doing it. And you get fatigued from it. So what I try to do to keep my modeling skills short is when I come into modeling fatigue, I change what I'm modeling. So what I'm going to show you here now is not train related, but it's model related, so we'll allow it this time. And this is what I work on when I'm not doing trains. So these pieces are collections from, different wargaming games. I don't know what to call it there, but they're like Dungeons and Dragons, and there's one called Warhammer, and I really don't know what all of these parts and pieces are. But what's cool is you get these little miniatures, right? And they come. Some of them come assembled, some of them come not assembled. They all come prime painted, but they're not painted. They're just gray. And then you get to paint them. And then I guess if you were playing the game, you would do whatever you do with the game. But I have used this as a technique to create various effects that you can't really do in model railroading. Like there's really no need in model railroading to have a zombie fleshed dragon, but I was able to do that using a very thick paste created from the Vallejo pigments. And I did that dragon in October of 2018, and it has sat all by itself with nothing going for it that long. So I finally made a scene here. It's not done. I'm still working on it, but it's basically these armies of darkness spreading across this cemetery, and we have our two wizards, our sorceress and our sorcerer, standing to do battle against them. So not train related, but it is modeling related, and a lot of the techniques are the same. You'll notice the woodland scenics, different ground foams, and the static grass, and this is just a piece of blue foam cut with a wire cutter. These are, I believe they're woodland scenics, HO scale tombstones, and then there's some talus in there, and of course, I forgot about the necromancer. You gotta have somebody calling up your evil dead, right? So he's sitting back there. And but anyway, so I did spend some time in the evening working on this whole little deal, and so I've got to finish it. I've got to finish the painting. I've got to finish the scenery, and the models themselves are actually the only part that's done. So that's how I fight off modeling fatigue. So when the railroad stuff gets just a little too mundane, and I don't really know what I want to do next, I build one of these things, and it keeps things interesting. Okay, and the very last thing that happened in July was the staging yard, as you'll notice, is very full. And that is because I pulled all the cars that didn't have either a train that they belonged to or a destination to go to, and I threw them into staging. And what you're noticing here is that the staging yard is filled. Okay, that's not ideal because obviously I can't actually stage any trains back here now because I've got all these other cars that are cars without a home, rebels without a cause, so to speak, back here, and I can't do anything with them. So obviously I don't have enough track. That's the problem, right? It's never that there's too many trains. It's always that there's not enough track. So let's talk about some crazy ideas that I have in my head. Okay, so you're looking behind the scenes from where the actual layout is, and there's a hallway here that obviously it needs to be maintained because that's how I get back to the washer, dryer, furnace, water heater, all that fun stuff. But as we walk forward here, this section that's pulled out, I've done videos on this in the past. It rolls into place to complete the loop. It's a major pain, especially when guests are here, because now the layout is you're inside a stuck circle, and it's not even just a lift bridge, it's a whole rollout section. It's got its own cables to plug in. They're a little unnecessary. That's boot and suspenders, just because I have modified the clips at the joiners here so that they don't actually catch, they don't actually lock, they just sort of slide in. And even though they make good electrical contact, it's not always, it's not always tight. So I have the wires for perfection, I'll say. So this area is also kind of narrow. I mean, it's wide enough for me to slide through, but I'm not particularly a big dude, so I can get through there no problem. And then of course that's where my S curve is that's causing me grief to hook up into here. So the reason this happened was because when the layout got relocated from its upstairs room to down here in the basement, I had some signature scenes I did not want to destroy, and one of the signature scenes was the intermodal yard. Well, the intermodal yard really extends the length of this side of the layout, almost all the way down to the town of Allegheny there, where it then turns the corner. So I couldn't really break this scene up. But then I started getting to thinking that it may not be too bad if right where the tanker cars are here, right where this layout starts to make its curve, what if I just kept curving it and I didn't bring it back? And then what if I severed the intermodal yard from here, made a nice long sort of a branch line, basically rotated everything. I could actually cut this whole section out and move it as one giant piece on the framing, of course, not just free floating it, and then preserve my yard, but also get it out of the way. So what that would mean is that these tracks here could go snug against the wall, because if I needed to get back into that back little storage room, which I never do, I could just go into the layout. That's not a problem for me. But then I could bring those tight against the wall, bring it all the way down here, cross all of the technical stuff, and then down along this wall, and actually put a hole in the riser there. It's not a structural riser, it's just to make it look pretty. And then run the train back out the back side, water here, and then back around, and the helix sits over there. So I can actually encompass the whole basement. Now you're saying, okay, well, yeah, that's great, but you forgot about a section. I did. And so what will happen is these tracks here will turn, and they can run the same area. I could have a single lift bridge right here, just fold up, fold down, real easy to get people into. Or what I could do is I can also start curving this, make a nice little radius here, and then bring it back on this side of the stairs, so that there would only essentially be one lift bridge. That would be right here, and that would be if you're not going into the train room, if you're going to the areas behind. And that appeals to me a lot more. So basically, as you came down the steps, your direction would be right into the layout. You'd have tracks on either side. Obviously, this is a huge amount of work. And I would not want to take this layout apart to do that until I built the rest of it, because that's not something that I would be able to build, say, overnight. So I think what I may start doing is sort of planning that out, track planning that out, laying it out, seeing how the radius would work, make sure I'm not going to add more radius problems. And then once I verify that I can do all that and it can join back there, that adds a whole lot more track, a whole lot more run time, a whole lot more realty, and now all of a sudden I don't have enough train cars. So I solved the problem, right? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Oh my God, he's crazy. He's finally lost his mind. He is figuring out how to get his trains to run the whole freaking house. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, working on that. But that's going to be for July updates much further in the future. So we are wrapping up here for July of 22, and what I've got coming up here in August, hopefully. Going to finish some of those building kits I was talking about earlier to get some details up on the upper deck. I'm going to continue working on that basic scenery, getting that sort of roughed in so that we can start using that a little bit more. And then I'm also going to start working on some weathering projects. I've got some pretty bare cars rolling around, and I've got some, you just saw 3 of them, undecorated locomotives. So I'm going to work on some of those detail projects. They don't give you a lot to show while you're working on them, but they sure do look great when they're done. So I've got that video coming out of the tank car, and I don't know if you're going to see it, but there was actually a spider living in this little box car there. He set up a home. I just noticed that, so I have to get him out of there. But anyway, so that is July of 2022's update. Lots coming up here. Obviously, big plans for the layout itself. None of those plans are deterring from what we're doing presently. So, start chipping away up here. It's some basic scenery in the intermodal yard, and then of course I've still got stuff over in the coal mine side, and got some boxes of super trees that need made, and all kinds of other stuff. So, gonna start getting working. Got lots to do. So until next time, everybody stay happy modeling.